Are you tired of playing versus Viper? You sit down after hours of hard work for your Dota match in the day only to play against that hero? I know the frustration and I'm here to help you with that. Viper can be really frustrating, and that's honestly one of his few advantages. If you understand when he's strong and when he's weak and not tilt, you will be able to crush Viper players. To make sure I can help you guys as much as possible, I looked up all of the most popular mid heroes of the patch, and then I found out how the best players in the game are able to lane versus Viper and still win their lanes in games. Alright, the first matchup we will talk about is Tiny versus Viper, but before we get there, I will explain the core idea on how to lane versus Cancer heroes. It all boils down to a good block. A good block allows you to draw aggro easily to your tower, and this is going to accomplish two things. Viper is not going to be hitting you deep under tower, and you're effectively pushing the wave at a much faster rate than normal. When you accomplish this, Viper can't touch you, because every time he goes for an attack on you, the effective damage he takes from the creeps evens it out, so he's spending mana and trading even HP, which is terrible for him. And if you play it correctly, you should be level 2 versus a level 1 hero, which is a big advantage. Also, you have 4 extra creeps in lane, and so when Viper attacks you, he will take more damage. Also, his creeps are going to be dying faster because now they are under tower. This gives you another wave of creeps for free, and watch how Viper pretty much takes the same amount of damage the Doom takes, even though Doom barely touched him. This concept is important in every single matchup from now on, and if you cannot get a good block, you're gonna have to try and draw aggro to your tower to accelerate the push, but you're gonna be further away from it, meaning you will take a lot of damage for it, and this will make it more unlikely that you can kill Viper in the laning stage. That said, this is still the best way for you to have a chance of a game. Alright, if you use everything we talked about in the first segment, you should be able to do this against Viper. Viper players are super cocky and they just want to be denying hitting you at all times, and so it's not hard to pull off stuff like this. By getting a good block, dragging the creeps to your tower, you will have level 3 consistently when Viper is maybe 2 or 3, and you're also going to be higher HP, which means you can go for plays like this. Doing damage like this to Viper is essential, because if you play too passively, he's just going to get boots and then the lane becomes unbearable. Your goal in this lane is to rush bottle, because it allows you to keep spamming spells, and at the same time it deals with some of the Viper's harass, and then you want to get boots. First, because it counters Viper's boots, but at the same time you will have to leave the lane once Viper is 6, and the boots helps you roam. In this game, the Tiny loses the fight for the rune, which is really unfortunate. Without the extra mana and HP, he decides it's not worthy to try and fight a level 5 Viper, and what he does instead is use a Smoke of Deceit for a gank in the bottom side of the map. This is obviously not ideal, but level 5 Viper with boots is really hard to deal with if you don't have a full bottle, and this is a way for him to start creating space. You just have to give up the lane once Viper is 5 to 6, because it's not worthy. Let's talk about Magnus, and at the same time address a scenario the block was not great. Dota players will deny this, but they're not perfect and foolproof. Mistakes happen, and we can see Mag drawing aggro to try and mitigate his mistake. He gets one creep, and as Viper harasses, he chills. Eventually though, Viper goes deeper, and he trades with him. People are way too afraid of level 1 Viper. His spell is annoying, yes, but right now Viper is attacking from the low ground with a range creep attacking him at the same time. This is a bad trade for the enemy and should be punished. This is a really hard scenario, but the only thing you can do is keep drawing aggro. Mag versus Viper has a cool dynamic, which is, even though Viper harasses you a lot, Magnus' base damage is way higher and his attack speed is decent, allowing you to get a lot of denies. By getting a salve as the lane started, trading well in the beginning, and drawing aggro, this Mag gets a really important kill. It doesn't matter if you die here, the boost of experience and gold allows Mag to start jungling at level 4, because unlike Tiny, he doesn't have a lot of burst damage or ways to get the range creep in the lane, and that's also why you get Bracer and Gloves of Haste rather than boots. After all, you're not going to be roaming with this hero this early. Even though you don't get bottle, you should try to fight for a rune, and that's also the case for all of the matchups in this video, by the way. Ask for a support to show up at 4 minutes. You don't want a hasted Viper hunting you while you jungle with 20% HP. And so, thanks to the first kill, Mag jungles at a reasonable rate to get his 6. And once the catapult starts pushing, Mag asks for a support to defend mid, and that's the perfect scenario and bait. He doesn't show, He waits for Viper, and with a perfect RP plus turn into Skewer, he gets another kill, completely crushing the early game of Viper. In this replay, Doom gets a really good block. Because of that, he has the luxury of eating a range creep without taking too much harass for it, and this enables him to get level 2 in the first wave, which is really important. Watch how he can get away with denying Viper creeps because this army of creeps he created protects him. Just to glance over his items real quick, I really like the Ring of Protection since Doom has no armor and also no spells with a lot of cast range, like a Mag and a Tiny, and because this hero has a ton of HP regen thanks to Devour, I really dig his choice of Tangos rather than a Self, since it does heal a little bit more for less gold. Out of all the matchups I showed so far, I believe this is the hardest to actually get a kill, but as you already talked about, Viper players are lazy sacks of shit, and so because he waits his Devour level 2 before using it, and this time uses it on a melee creep because the wave is pushed, he baits Viper into a fight. See how he doesn't instantly attack Viper back? Once the creeps aggro though, he starts fighting and he ends up getting first blood. Very similarly to Mag, you cannot stay in this lane after level 4 because you have no reliable way to get range creeps from afar. Any decent Viper will control the equilibrium in a greedy spot, so your job is to jungle efficiently, contest runes with a support at 4 minutes, and eventually get a kill. He ends up asking for Jakiro to rotate when Viper is low in HP, and that ends up being 2 kills for them. I really like this replay because it shows a relatively popular way of playing Viper nowadays. The Storm gets a good block, and Viper, instead of suffering with a double wave under his tower, he just learns W. The spell counteracts most of the push that comes from the aggro into tower Storm went for, and at the same time damage Storming lane. This matchup is not that different from the other heroes we talked about. You want to draw aggro constantly, but this time you are on the other side. Viper is the hero using his wave clear to punish the fact you are a ranged hero and he can attack you under tower with his orb effect. It's really important to use the tree area here. If you run away from Viper in the lane, not only he's gonna be able to deal more damage to you, but you will probably lose experience from the range creep, so do not run away and use this area effectively. Eventually though, bottle is not ready and Viper is positioned aggressively with the lane pushed, so the only thing Storm can do is jungle. You really need to keep tabs in the lane though. As melee heroes, a lot of times it's hard to go back into the lane, but Storm can draw aggro from relatively far away, and so you shouldn't be jungling if you have enough HP and mana to be there. All he does is stack, go back, and draw aggro from a really far away spot. Notice that he was going to jungle again, but as he notices Viper pushing the wave with the W, he addresses it but doesn't show. Viper has boots at this stage, so he just leeches experience, and only when his creeps are approaching the lane, he dares drawing aggro. We saw a ton of fights where Viper dies because he fights under a wave. At this stage, the creeps make a lot of difference, not only because there's less creeps for Viper to dive Storm, but because his creep wave is also coming. And as the lane pushes, he goes back for another stack, and he just repeats this non-stop. Until you're level 6, you have no chance of killing Viper, and you should just focus in jungling. His supports never rotated mid with the catapult, meaning his tower fell, and it's okay. I mean, it's not okay, the support should be there, but trying to stop that by yourself will only make your game worse. By jungling effectively and controlling the runes, he eventually takes a great fight top and recovers with a double kill. Of all the matchups showed so far, Ember is probably the hardest one. This hero has no stuns and his shield gets destroyed easily by Viper. In order to avoid damage from Viper, he doesn't even get close to the range creep when he turns Flame Guard on, and your goal in a matchup like this one is just damage control and surviving. He starts with extra tangos and he also fares a salve on top of it. Drawing aggro is obviously super important here, but once Viper gets level 3 you need to be extra careful. He dodges death here by using level 2 shield with a salve afterwards, but that also means he barely touches the creeps in the lane. One important thing to note is how he doesn't use Flame Guard to get his creeps when they're under tower. You have to consider having creeps under tower in a matchup like this as a blessing. This rarely happens, and so you shouldn't use your mana to get experience from creeps you're gonna get anyways. He also saves that mana for the tiny rotation. This is the type of lane that is impossible to win or sometimes even survive without, but he gets unlucky. Another thing to mention is that good Vipers will not ward the lane, preventing you from drawing aggro from the high ground and forcing you to take a ton of damage when you go low ground. Watch how he cannot draw aggro here even when he does it multiple times. He is then forced to get a stack while he waits for the rune, but he doesn't get lucky. When he notices Viper going for the rune, he gives up jungling for the experience, but Viper commits, and he trades lives but dies first. This matchup is terrible, and one of the few other ways to go around this is cutting the mid lane. I do have a video about it and you should check it out. For you.
This guy plays so stupid, dude. Actually so stupid. That was a duel, by the way, but he doesn't want to press it. Now he's scared of pressing it.
Hey guys, do you feel like Arteezy playing Dota sometimes? Even pro players feel like that all the time, and the way they are able to win so many games, besides the fact that they're really good, is knowing when to pick every hero. Dota is an ever-changing game, and I'm here to help you with that. If you join my Meta Aficionado tier on Patreon, you will get a 20-minute video analysis of the patch weekly, as well as a 20-page PDF file that's gonna have the best heroes for every position. I'm also updating the list whether there's a patch going or whether the meta evolves naturally. This is a great way to get MMR because it will help you filtering the amount of heroes you have to pick. So not only are you going to learn those heroes faster, but you're going to be playing the best heroes available right now. Guys, once again, thank you a lot for liking, commenting, and subscribing. In case you want a more premium experience than my Meta Aficionado tier on Patreon, you can DM me on Twitter to get the rates for my coaching. If you want to watch exclusive content like this one, where I'm being coached by amazing players, you should definitely follow me on Twitch. If you got back to Dota because of COVID-19, or because of the Companion, you should join our Discord channel. There's a lot of cool people there, and in case you're a little afraid of playing Dota by yourself, I'm sure you can find a good pub partner to make your games a little better. And finally, if you don't really care about the Meta Aficionado tier, but you still like the channel and you want to give back, maybe check the other tiers. I'm sure you're gonna find something that caters to you there. Guys, thank you a lot. This video was amazing to make, and hope you're having a good week. Bye.